Welcome to the Healing Revolution podcast, where we challenge the status quo of conventional healthcare and explore the boundless potential of holistic healing. I'm your host, Nicole.
And I'm your other host, Isabel. Here we'll delve into the power of neuroscience, the wisdom of ancient Chinese medicine, the intricacies of epigenetics, and the profound impact of nutrition and spiritual mentoring. Join us as we uncover the secrets of holistic health, empower you with knowledge, and inspire you to take control of your well being.
This is more than a podcast, it's a revolution in how we understand and achieve health. Let's embark on this journey together and revolutionize the way we heal. Welcome back to the Healing Revolution podcast. Today's guest is a true leader in the world of natural health and nutritional therapy. Dr. Dan Young is a second-generation board-certified naturopath and certified nutritional counselor with more than 24 years of hands-on clinical experience helping clients overcome chronic health challenges through herbal and nutritional therapy. He serves as a lead practitioner at the Country Doctor Nutritional Center in Cheyenne, Wyoming, a family-owned wellness center founded in 1998 by his father, Samuel Young, a board-certified naturopath and master herbalist. Since joining the center in 2001, Dr. Dan Young has performed over 88,000 hands-on evaluations and amassed more than 28,000 hours of clinical experience. Under his leadership, the center now conducts over 4,000 nutritional therapy evaluations each year, placing it in the top 3% of the industry. Dr. Young is also passionate about advanced natural health education. He teaches continuing education courses recognized by the American Naturopathic Medical Certification Board and PACE, a chiropractic CE provider in 29 states. He is the co-author of The Ultimate Healing System, 18 Proven Steps to Achieve Optimal Health, provides monthly mentorship to practices across the country, and is a sought-after keynote speaker at national health and wellness conferences. Outside the clinic, Dr. Young enjoys life with his wife of 33 years, Stacy. Together, they've raised 3 children and are proud grandparents of 4. Please welcome Dr. Dan Young.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Yes, thank you for being here.
I think I'll rewrite that. It's a little less glamorous, maybe, huh?
No, I like it. Everybody's going to be so impressed by your intro.
I'm listening to that. I'm like, wow, that 24 years has really got some good stuff packed into it. I've been very blessed.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot for the last 25 years. That's amazing. So let's get into it. What's one thing you do in your clinical practice that you think most practitioners overlook but makes a huge difference?
My experience has been that all of us are fortunate enough to come out of schools today with advanced understanding and application methods for the modalities that we love, whether it's herbology or nutritional therapy or acupuncture, massage. The challenge that we face and have faced long before I even got into the industry was that students are not positioned in their communities to thrive and to really bring clients in, help clients embrace what we offer, educate them properly, get them off to a great start, monitor their cases well, and so on. That list in our industry is just, it goes on and on. And so what we do that's very, very different, and we're trying to spread this with other practitioners across the country, is the intake process, the procedures, the systems, the people, the communication, so that people in your community can easily embrace what you have to offer, understand with clarity what their responsibilities are to their own health, and stay with the process long enough so that the body, which was created by God, and that's the one that does all the healing, can actually experience health restoration. So we have actually 5 different points of contact with a potential client for our clinic before they ever start a program. And I feel like that is one of the most duplicatable and empowering pieces to what we do as a practice that we're sharing with practices across the country. And that one thing is amplifying client retention, client compliance, and the ability of the client to go back into the marketplace and really explain to their family and friends, wow, this is what a great experience. You've got to experience this. And have that type of energy transform people's communities when it comes to natural health.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And for those listening, Dan has been my mentor for, I think, 6 weeks now. And just implementing the changes and really like honing in on we're here to serve has been it's been building so much momentum for my business as well. It's been awesome.
Well, I have to toot your horn for you because you did such a great job at tooting mine when we started this interview. Nicole had her first orientation class, 8 people in attendance. 6 of those people were positioned because of her education and what she took them through to really embrace next steps, right, with your clinic and experience what you have to offer. And within a couple of days, the other 2 folks had a chance to maybe chew on a little more and are also going to join you in what you have to offer. So that is, in my world, that is amazing, and you should be applauded for that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I couldn't have done it without your help because you're absolutely right. I mean, we've had so many conversations over the last 6 weeks, but it's so true. Like when I was going through school and I'm in school now, they don't teach you how to have a successful business. They just teach you the protocols and what to put in place to help people, but they don't really tell you how to structure your business, how to create client compliance, because especially in today's world where everything is so instant gratification. Everything is right at the drop of a hat. You get 2 day shipping, sometimes same day shipping with Amazon, which is crazy. So people, they're always like, well, how long until I notice a difference? And you'll probably notice a difference really soon, but you have to stay with it. And people don't know that you have to stay with it for at least a year.
Yeah. The school, and it's not the school's fault, okay? Their focus is if we make them really great healing practitioners with the modality of their choice, if we really get them honed in on that, then that will drive the machine that drives the business. The modality never drives the machine. The machine drives the modality. It's kind of like the experience of somebody handing you a steering wheel and saying, hey, Nicole, go out and enjoy your car. Right? You got a piece of the car, you got a piece of what was needed, you got a piece of the vehicle, okay? But you were never given the complete picture so that you could do it with low stress, high volume, low fee, people are retained. I mean, and on and on and on. As you know, we've talked about this. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think most people get into the holistic wellness industry because they were sort of, I don't want to say ousted, but modern medicine didn't have what they were looking for. They weren't getting those results-driven care. And so for you, what kind of led you to figuring out how to have a really good structure that built that sort of compliance with clients and those long-lasting results?
how much time do we have? It's been an amazing journey, and I'll try to sum it up for you and your audience. Modern medicine seems to have all the clout and not much credibility. That's the problem. And in the minds of the consumer, they don't know how to weed through and differentiate between what is going to really position them in their health to thrive and what's really going to position them for long-term pain, very little gain, okay, and more either prescriptions or procedures or both. So knowing that, when 1974, my grandfather had Parkinson's, he shook real bad in his right hand. I remember as a child sitting at the breakfast table with him, and he was under the influence of cinnamon, which is still a drug used today for Parkinson's, and not responding to it. He would shake like a leaf and almost pass out in his eggs, right? I remember watching him go through this.
Oh, wow.
My parents watched this process. His wife watched this process for almost a year. They never did get the medication dialed in properly. And finally, one day at one of the primary care physician visits, he was told, and the family was told, hey, we have this new and wonderful procedure guaranteed to get him results. Well, here comes the false hope, right? It turned out to be false hope. But in the moment, you think it's hope, right? What happened is we had uninformed optimism. He had the procedure and he stopped shaking. And then what happened was he started to atrophy in his hand. He couldn't use it anymore. Modern medicine called that a win. So we went from uninformed optimism to informed pessimism, okay? Informed optimism to informed pessimism, meaning we had the evidence now after the aftermath that this was not going to work for him. And so my father in 1974, he started in Montana what I refer to in my lectures as the original family practice, okay? He practiced on my mom. He practiced on my brother. He practiced on me. He practiced on anybody that would let it. I remember him mixing up herbal concoctions and handing them to us and saying, hey, drink this. If you don't feel better, hopefully it won't kill you, but maybe you'll feel better. And it was, terrible tasting stuff. And, but we grew up that way. And so from 1974 to 1998, he had like an original family practice. He would practice on anybody that would let him. He studied Dr. Jensen and V.E. Irons and all the turn of the century, gurus like, Paul Bragg's and Jack LaLanne, right? The first guy to ever go on television and do home exercise. He wore a black singlet on a black and white TV. My dad thought he was a little bit of a fruitcake, for doing that, kind of a clown. And I said, don't watch that. That'll mess your manhood up and stuff like that, because we didn't know any better. But Jack LaLanne, as we all know, if you ever study his story in life, became one of the greatest spokesmen for nutrition because of his relationship with Paul Bragg's. And I hope that your audience looks up some of these names, turn to the century nutritional therapists, who really proved that when it came to chronic illness, what was lacking was the right nutrition, stress reduction, movement, and rest. They had the 4 legs to the table. They had it figured out. They were correcting all kinds of what modern disease management referred to as life-threatening diseases, which is really a series of symptoms. It's not a disease at all, okay? And so in 1998, he was 55 years of age. He was a building contractor, actually, by profession. Nutrition was a hobby for my father.
Oh, wow.
And my mom said, you're too young to retire. You're gonna keep working. He says, okay, then I'm gonna start a little nutrition consultancy here in Torrington, Wyoming, of all places. And I asked my father when I joined him, why did you pick Torrington? He says, well, it was halfway between all the grandkids. So we kind of just looked at a map and picked out a little town, and that's where we moved to, because we wanted to be able to travel into Nebraska and see grandkids and travel into Montana and see grandkids. So that was how it came about. And what's happened for our office and the impact that we've been blessed to have has been, in my experience, nothing short of a miracle. When I joined my father, he had a very high volume or a very high fee, low volume practice, which many practices are still trying to implement to this day.
Oh, it's getting worse.
And it's getting worse. So this high fee, low volume practice. So what happened was, he pulled out of the business in 2004 after my 3.5-year internship. I was very blessed to work side by side with him in the trenches, helping people with these types of protocols. And my father's still alive, by the way. He just turned 83 last month. He's retired, living in Oregon, his home state. And we communicate and stay in touch on a regular basis, weekly basis. And he's doing great.
That's awesome.
So what happened is that I inherited that, okay? We didn't know any better. He didn't know how to transition authority in the minds of our clients. And I didn't know, I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with having a very high fee, low volume approach to providing good quality care. And so I met a gentleman at a conference in Florida. His name was Dr. George Bernbach. I give him credit where credit's due. And I spent a weekend with that man. He gave a seminar at a company down there. And I spent a lot of money I didn't have on resources that I fell in love with. I believe this is going to help. This is going to change this around. Because one of the things that happened when my father pulled out of practice is our business dropped 50 to 60% in revenue overnight, because they were tied to the practitioner rather than the experience. Okay. And that's a key. And so again, the modality was driving the machine rather than the machine driving the modality.
Right.
And so what happened is I got really scared. In fact, for about a year, I had stress-induced psoriasis so bad on my head that if you lifted the hairline up, you could see purple, red, flaky skin all over my head. And that was 100% stress-induced, because I thought I was crashing my family business.
Yeah.
I thought it was crashing right before my eyes. And we got better education. And George, he works for 5-Star Management. And he said, here's what you implement, and here's what you do. And I got that information December of 2005, January of 2006. Me and one other person who was my staff at the time, working part-time, all of us, just the two of us, we rebuilt this practice from the ground up. And we went from his best year in clinical practice ever as a practitioner. And by August of that year, we were on pace to double that.
Wow.
In 2006. And the last few years, we have been very blessed to be a 7-figure practice, all cash. And we work with a very high volume, low fee approach, which keeps the stress down, retention high, referrals high, compliance good, right? It just has it all built in. And the catalyst for that was that weekend experience that I had. And we came back, and obviously we refined it drastically, refining it with our paperwork, our procedures. Our intake is way different even than what I was taught. I believe that the more contact I have with a person before they ever start a program, that just positions them to have much more lasting as well as immediate success. And that's proven itself out for the last 18 to 20 years, somewhere in there. Since 2005. It's been 20 years now, and we've steadily grown through the housing crash in 2008, or the Bear Stearns Wall Street crash 2008, the real estate market. We keep growing. 2020, right? We kept growing as a clinic. So I believe that we have, by way of experience, mastered some key things so that the machine will drive the modality for practitioners. And it doesn't matter what the modality is. We come and make the refinements. If the person will execute, right? Like we talked about.
Yep.
ChatGPT will design you a beautiful plan for your business. Okay. It will. But that information is very little value in information these days because it's everywhere. Okay?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Execution is what's priceless. How to actually execute and then navigate and communicate and build and sustain, right? AI can't do that. But
No,
you and
not
I
at
can.
all. Exactly. It's funny as we're talking about the machine driving, the modality, and also just like the experience you give people when they come into your clinic or your practice, or for us, it's our store, then our clinic.
Yeah.
Um, maybe 3 years ago now, my mom's friend, she's a real estate agent. She invited me to go to a training with her. It wasn't really a training, it was more so just a class, but I guess for the other real estate agents in the room, it was a training. And the person that was speaking was a good friend of hers, so she invited me to go. And I wasn't a real estate agent, obviously. And I had just opened up my nutrition practice. It was completely online. And the one thing that really stood out to me is this, I don't remember his name, but he said, you need to give everybody their Disney. And what he meant by that was no one goes to Disney for the food. No one goes to Disney for the hotels, maybe. Most people go to Disney for the experience. It's how you feel when you go there. You feel like magical. That's their whole thing. You feel like you're on cloud nine. And so he said that you need to do that in your business. What does that look like? You want to give them
Yep.
the best experience possible. Don't focus on the outcome. And that was
100%.
it was huge. It made me think a lot when it came to business because no one really teaches you to focus on the client or focus on whoever it is that you're trying to serve. They mostly almost always focus on their systems to build in the revenue. The part that
Yep.
they're missing is the heart, why they're
Yep.
in the first place. And I think when I reached out to you, I think I reached out to you in March. And I
It
think,
was. I
yeah,
have the original email.
okay.
I
So
still have
I
it
haven't
saved.
known you
Yeah.
that long.
Yeah. It was March.
It's been 3 months since I've met you. And I think what I appreciated about what you had to offer other practitioners was that you were in the trenches. You already know what it took to succeed and how to help people and actually bring.
And what it takes to crash.
Yeah, exactly. That too. And what I found before I met you, I didn't really work with, but I bought these different, business courses or whatever where they teach you how to have a thriving nutrition practice, but these people don't have a thriving nutrition practice themselves, or they're just a business coach for holistic whatever. And it was just this follow my blueprint. And I followed 3 blueprints and nothing came of it
Isn't that interesting?
and wasted thousands of dollars.
You remind me of a story that happened over the Super Bowl this last year, okay, or earlier this year, I should say. During the Super Bowl, there's a steak house down in Florida, and I'll get the name and I'll send it to you if you want to post it for your viewers.
Okay.
There's a really cool little YouTube video on it. But here's the deal. They sell $1,000 steak, okay? $1,000 steak. Now, when you look at the cut of the meat, the product, it's a $50 cut of meat, okay? But when they bring it out, when somebody orders this, the entire ambiance of the restaurant shifts. The DJ shifts the music mood. All the staff come around in this big parade. They have this fancy, like platinum looking briefcase, like something out of Mission Impossible. And they bring this briefcase up and they open the lid, and there's this $50 piece of meat sitting on what looks like a bed of diamonds. before they prepare it for the person that ordered it.
That's why it's $1,000.
Super Bowl weekend, that restaurant sold 200 of those steaks.
Wow.
That weekend. So what did the people pay for the piece of meat, or did they pay for the experience? It's exactly what you're talking about. People want the experience. But they want the results. Okay.
Exactly.
The experience brings them into your culture. The results keep them in your culture. That's what matters. And because we're good students, we got good modalities and good products, and the use of those products and protocols, right? That part is really easy for most people. It's the experience that most don't know how to position their clients to have. And that's what brings them into your culture. They don't come into your arena and rewrite your culture. You have your culture written, your machine in place, and they get to experience it.
Right.
Then that builds the retention, the compliance, the referrals, and it makes a sustainable practice out of a very low fee, high volume experience that's stress-free for everybody. It has the elements that these schools aren't teaching. And I hope certain administrators of certain schools out there get a copy of this.
I know, right?
Because I would love to come and do some lectures and help to educate and position these students to have the resources that they just don't have.
Yeah, no, I think most practitioners could benefit from it. No, I love it. I love everything that you're doing. I think it's amazing. I mean, it's funny when we talk about the low fee, high volume approach because that requires you to have more people, more time, more skin in the game. And I think part of the high fee, low volume is you want more, but work less.
Yep.
And it's just, unfortunately, people come to you because they don't feel good.
Yep.
Regular doctors haven't helped them. And now you're going to offer up your program, but it's thousands of dollars. So they're already stressed out because they don't feel good. And now you're going to charge them an arm and a leg just to feel better. That doesn't do anything for their health. That doesn't make sense to me. And if I won't buy it, I'm not going to sell it.
And to your point, what is the objective of any client that really comes to an office like yours or mine? I don't feel good. Or I'm out of hope with my current approach. Or somebody referred me, which is really one of the better ways. Or I have a level of fear that's motivating me, right? There's only 3 or 4 really key reasons why people seek us out, right? It's because the modern disease management model is not delivering. Again, high level of clout, low level credibility. Now, they are very credible when it comes to emergency medical. But go to any clinic, any hospital in the country, go to Boston, a hospital in Boston, and look at the size of their emergency facility in comparison to the size of their chronic care facility.
Yep.
Okay. It's 95% to about 5%, maybe 10%, right? Emergency medical is where they shine, and that's where they should be kept. Yep. When it comes to chronic, people staying sick is what builds the rest of that huge hospital. Not getting well, staying sick. And in this country, we need to wake up to that. 2020 was not a bust, okay? It was a real eye-opener in many ways for a lot of people, and I thank God for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. So can you walk us through what a typical first visit looks like in your office and why you've structured it that way? We kind of went over why you structure it that way, but those 5 contexts, what does that sort of look like?
So when somebody gets a hold of our office, more often than not, they've been referred to us by a very pleased, satisfied client. And when they come in, regardless of their concerns, regardless of what they're dealing with, whether it's the fear motivator, whether it's the losing faith in modern medicine objective, whether it's all these different objectives, everybody gets here for their own reasons. Okay. And we understand that.
Yeah. They're
all told the same thing. All of our clients come through our orientation class, the first and third Tuesday of the month. For attending the class, first 2 visits are complimentary. We want to do this to make sure we're a great match for your needs and that you're a great match for us.
People that have already come to the class probably hear this because I say the same thing.
Yeah. And there again, it's bringing continuity to our industry. Everybody's splintered and doing their own thing because they're struggling to find a machine to drive their modality.
Yep.
We have it. We haven't perfected it. We're still enhancing and refining and applying and putting it through order, right? Our training acronym, we're always looking at it through that framework. So where can we improve? So they come to the class, attending, and I do those classes in person every time. Then for attending the class, they get their paperwork, they get it scheduled for their initial visit. So they come in for their initial visit, they do an evaluation. We use a very simple intake documentation process. It's very simple. It does reveal their concerns, what they've done to themselves in the past, what they'd like to see happen in the future, right? And it just lays the framework for the practitioner. And we take them through a nutritional therapy kinesiology evaluation, which allows us to, in a very non-invasive, but yet for those who haven't experienced it, kind of odd way of doing neurological evaluation with kinesiology. Muscle testing is kind of the layman's term for this evaluation, but it's very effective and very accurate, and in a skilled practitioner's hands, just like any other modality, if the person's skilled and really practiced, they can bring on display some really amazing things that can be very helpful to the client. We explain this to them, we answer their questions, but interestingly enough, they do not leave the initial visit with a bunch of stuff to take, okay? They leave with the experience, the education, questions asked and answered, and then they're scheduled for what we call their program of care visit. In between that first visit and program of care, they get a call from me to just like, hey, I just want to touch base. I've had a chance to review your case. I did have a couple more questions just for clarification because I really want to thoroughly understand your case. I ask my questions. They give me feedback. If they have any questions, I let them know, look, it looks like to me, like based on what I know, you're a really great match for what we offer. I look forward to seeing you on your program of care visit. Mm-hmm. And we confirm it then. And it's just very smooth and simple. They come in. The program of care is a document really originated in the chiropractic arena. It used to be called report of findings. Okay. I didn't like that term for nutritional therapy. So I thought, what are we really offering this client? I mean, what could I sum it up instead of report of findings? What 3 words could we use that really sums up what we're presenting to the client for their inspection and approval on the second visit?
Yep.
Program of care, how we monitor, how often, what are the fees? A lot of practitioners don't like talking about money. Okay. A lot of people, unfortunately, in this country, whether you're in our industry or not, don't have a very healthy relationship with money, right? That's one of the things that's part of our coaching with practitioners to help groom that into a much more healthy viewpoint of what money really is in God's world, how to use it in terms of abundance, and how to be good stewards of that when it comes our way. And so they get to read the program, we reevaluate, and then they get to have an opportunity to acquire their program, usually 3 or 4 items on a usual basis. Mm-hmm. Sometimes as small programs as 1 or 2 items to get started. My largest programs might be maybe 6 or 7 items, right? I like small programs. I like results, but I really like small programs. And I know that small programs they'll be compliant with. They're not overwhelmed emotionally or financially. They'll stay with it and do their part long enough to get the results. Yep. So these are the things from our experience that AI can't teach you.
I agree. And I love because I've been saying this since before I met you. I don't recommend more than 5 supplements at a time. I mean, give or take, but for the most part, 3 to 5 is that sweet spot.
Yep, it really is.
I'm sure this has happened to you, but you'll get clients that come in and they're taking 15 supplements and they're not feeling good. So it's like, some of them have a hard time parting with it with some of the products. I'm like, but you came to me because you don't feel good. These products are not restoring function in the body. Here's what in our experience will. This is what we can do for you. And that kind of changes it for them. That shifts. They're like, okay, you're right. And honestly, we're saving them so much money in the long run. Nobody should be taking 15 supplements. And I've seen practitioners charge thousands of dollars just for the program of care. Not even the lab work. They charge thousands for the lab work, but the program of care is like 15 supplements. It's $1,000 minimum. And these people are already financially overwhelmed, and they're going to be overwhelmed emotionally and probably nutritionally as well.
Yep. And to your point, that individual who had that experience can't go and look at their family and friends in the face with certainty and with confidence and security and say, you need to go see this person. This is an amazing experience. It's hard for them to refer family and friends. It's hard for them to sustain that kind of program, right?
Because the goal is long-lasting change.
Yeah, because our programs, people can go home and say, oh, wow, it went great. I was in and out of there for like $120. That's like 3 or 4 weeks worth of my program. Yeah, I've got a couple of more visits, but his visits in his office are like a copay. Whoopee, no big deal. I got plenty, and he wants me to cut out Starbucks, which is I'm spending $8 a day at Starbucks, and that pays for my program of care.
Period.
I don't have people have to come up with new money. Get this concept. I don't think we've talked about this yet. You're not asking a client to come up with new money to experience your program. That $1,000 up front, an additional $600 for supplements, right? Or whatever. You're not asking them to come up with new money. We are showing people a way to redirect money they're wasting on things that are eroding their health and redirecting it into a program of care. It's already paying for itself.
Yeah.
That is
I love it.
Cool.
No, it's so cool. It's amazing. So let's talk about the way we evaluate clients. I love muscle testing. I think it's,
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to ask you this question and then I'll answer it too.
Yes, too. That's awesome.
So how did you come to find nutritional kinesiology in your practice, and sort of what made you commit to this over other modalities?
The term nutritional kinesiology is one that we came up with. Okay. Yeah. I am the byproduct of several masters in the industry. My first experience personally with being muscle tested was in 1983 in Helena, Montana. I went to a reflexologist, the guy that really works on the feet and breaks up the crystal deposits on the nerve endings, which, by the way, is an amazing modality.
Yeah.
His wife did muscle testing, and she put me on 2 or 3 supplements. I was in football at the time. I was very active. I was in the gym a lot. I hurt a lot, lots of bumps and bruises. Energy was kind of in the toilet. And she said, hey, take these things, and here's how we find out how much and if it's the right thing and all that. And I was pretty fascinated by it because when I did what she said, it worked. And she's made the comment, the smartest doctor in the room is the one that's inside of you. Let's see what it has to say for itself. And I never forgot that, right? And as you know, I use that still to this day.
Yep.
Because that was my experience. As the years went on, we run across people like Dick Versendahl, John Brimhall, Donald Lepore, who, in my opinion, 1985 wrote the kinesiologist, the muscle testing Bible. Yeah. If you ask me, you can spend 25 years trying to master that book and you'll never master it, right? All of the nuance. What's that?
I just finished reading that book.
Yeah. And you need to do it again, huh?
Yeah. There's so much in there.
Dr. Freddie Ulan, right? He does NRT. So a lot of people have been contributing factors to what we do. So what happens with practitioners, if you do this work long enough, you kind of put your own spin on things.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start developing your own lingo about things. And so we named it, it's a combination of several people's influence. Nobody has the, stone cold rights to kinesiology, right? God bless George Goodhart and Alan Baradall, 1960, started the School of Applied Kinesiology, right? And everything kind of filters off and branches out from there.
Yep.
October of last year, we, after putting some classes under our belt, working with practitioners like yourself and others, through our certification program with Country Doctor Herbals, which again is a nuance, refinement to our industry, not just learning kinesiology, but being certified to use a specific product line and protocol selection in a very simple way, rather than what's the stress? Let's find out what the solution is, right?
Yes. I always tell people that.
Solution focused.
Yeah. I'm always telling clients that because they're like, oh, like if Virex comes up, they're like, well, what virus do I have? I'm like, I don't know. And it doesn't matter because I couldn't tell you if I could. Like, I don't have the credentials.
We're not diagnosing.
To tell you. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Yep. And so what happens was we were able to submit our syllabus and the hours of coverage in a 20-hour weekend, and PACE, which is a CE provider for the chiropractic arena, give us approval. And so now that program is actually available in 29 states across the country as a continuing education model for the chiropractic arena, which is a program we just really launched and are getting some legs under that project now as well. So, the first 25 years has been my learning ground. I anticipate the next 40 are going to be, the give back period of my life, to give all this back to as many people as I can, to be a part of that country doctor legacy that my father started as a result of what happened to my grandfather.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I went to the nutritional kinesiology course. I met you in March. We had a couple conversations and you're like, well, I think you should just come to Wyoming and take the class. It's next month. And I was like, okay. So I consider myself a woman of faith. And so I went to bed that night and I'm like, all right, God, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the store. I'm gonna book the flight, the rental car, the hotel, everything that I need. I'm also gonna obviously enroll in the class. I think that was a step I had to do as well. And I was like, I'm gonna do it as soon as I get in. If it goes smoothly, I'm gonna know this is of you. And if there's any sort of roadblocks, I'm not going. And it took me 10 minutes to do everything.
Wow.
So I was like, okay,
And
my next leg of the journey.
share with your audience what the most exciting thing that happened for you that weekend.
I did share that in the last episode, but I got engaged. That was so unexpected. And you said that you knew.
I knew
Him.
Hey, if there's one thing old men know is when they spot a young man in love. Okay, that was like hands down, something's happening tonight when they go out there to the lake or to the water or the pond or wherever you guys went in Colorado. Something fantastic's going to happen tonight.
Well, it's funny because when you said that to me, I like sat there and I was thinking to myself of the interaction that you guys had. And you did have a look on your face, like you paused for a second and you didn't break eye contact with him. And I was like, I wonder if that was when he knew.
Yeah, I think we texted about it later that night, didn't we?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't get to go to the dinner
the
that you
dinner.
had.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so funny. So, anyways, yeah, the kinesio.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great trip, and it was a good change of scenery for me as well.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, so with the kinesiology, I like it because it's so like you said, non-invasive, but it's incredibly accurate. Like I love, I mean, lab work is great. Gives you context clues of what's going on in the body, where dysfunction might be, but even the more holistic ways of analyzing the body, like iridology or face and tongue mapping, that sort of thing.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, still really good at analyzing where there might be dysfunction, but the difference is that it doesn't tell you what the root cause is and it doesn't ever tell you where to start.
Yep.
The
Yep.
nervous system tells you where to start.
Yep. And it just allows you to present these layers of stress. That's what clients really need to understand too. And we spend a lot of time, as you know, and in your office too, we spend more time educating than evaluating. Okay.
Yeah.
It's education. The evaluation is 7 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay. It's the education piece. Clients, people need to understand that it takes a minimum of 3 to 6 months of close monitoring to achieve stability, moving away from the initial support phase into stability. It takes 1 to 3 years to get well and restore function. And everybody's restoration is different. Some people hit 60%, and that's about as good as it's going to get. Others 80 or 90. We don't have a crystal ball that tells us that.
Yep.
We do have, however, a nervous system that does not lie. It will bring on display what is needed and the support for correction, and then hopefully as much prevention as humanly possible. Okay, and that's what we offer. And when it's applied by the client, they do their part. Right, we see some amazing results, miracles, literally every week in our clinic.
For someone who's never seen nutritional kinesiology or muscle testing in action, how would you describe what that you're doing in a session to them as they're on the table, they're laying down? How do you kind of educate them?
I use simple little props that a 5-year-old can understand. Okay, I have a little Steve Spangler energy ball that's got a little couple of diodes on it, and I'll say, look, the human body is an organic unit that runs on electricity. When that heart fires, It allocates electricity to the brain, rest, and it's circulation for the body, right? Can we agree on that? And they say, well, yeah, absolutely. So it's easy. Start off with easy steps. Yep. So when I take the little ball out and I say, now when you connect these diodes, see how that sets off the little light? Because it's picking up on the electrical current in the body. Just like an EKG machine would pick up on it, and you'd see it on the graph, right? They're still with me, okay? Okay, I can see that. So let me hold your hand, and you take your hand and stick out your finger, and we'll connect these diodes, kind of completing a circuit, and the light goes off again. Huh. So it can act like an extension cord in the human body, and it will show that. Then I say, okay, so you understand that? Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. Now they're getting kind of intrigued, right? It's like, wow, that's kind of cool. So then I grab out of my little chart in the office, I have an old school picture of what Carillion photography will pick up on inorganic substances, right? Inorganic substances, as well as organic substances. And it will actually pick up this energy field. In fact, if you put your hands like this, you can feel warmth between the two without physical contact. You can feel that energy. Yeah. Okay. I'll have them sometimes take their hand and kind of flex it and put it near their face, and you can feel warmth on the cheek. So that nervous system has the ability to be like a sensor to its surroundings, kind of like the modern cell phone.
This is my favorite.
When you touch an area on the phone, it brings on display a specific function to the phone.
Yep.
Now, you touch a different area of the screen on that phone, and it brings up, to demonstrate, right? It brings up a different function. It brings it on display so you can kind of inspect it. What's going on here, right? Mm-hmm. Human body, the surface of the human body is identical to that. The sympathetic pathways in the skin, 80% of those nerve pathways end in the skin. The skin is very sensitive. The palm of the hand, extremely sensitive. The fingertips, the feet, the ears, right? Very sensitive to touch. Very, very, it registers that.
Yeah.
And over different areas of the body is different. And now you get into kind of massage therapy and a little bit of acupuncture, right? And you get into these different dermatomes, these different patches of skin have a congregation of specific nerve pathways. So when you push on the liver area, you're kind of activating liver. Push on the stomach or the lung or the heart, right? When you put pressure on these areas, you're doing exactly with the human body what you're doing with your cell phone. You're bringing on display a certain function, and with an intact muscle, you can either register as intact, no real stress along that pathway, or it will release a little bit and they'll feel it. So will you. And the more you practice this with each client, the more proficient you both become at identifying how does that individual's nervous system bring these things on display. It's just that simple. Now, at some point along there with the photographs and the dermatomes, I probably started disconnecting some dots. My goal has always been with a new client when they first come in, if you can leave here today and at least say to yourself, okay, I guess I can see how that could work. Man, I've done a great job, right? And it's experiencing it over time that confirms for it. I've had people come in, throw themselves on the table, shoot their arm in the air and say, go ahead and do it. I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and do it, you know?
Yeah.
Because they like the results, right? They like the outcome. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but it works. You know?
Yeah. I know, because it is so different than what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm. But it's pure science. There's rooms this size of this front office that's filled with data, neurological studies that have been done on these pathways, how they can express in the muscles. A polygraph, think about a polygraph. When you tell a lie, that nervous system shifts. When there's additional stress, it goes up, and when there's not, it goes down. The difference is you're not verbally answering questions, you're just physically responding to that stimuli, and it's either the stress is up or it's not, and it'll come on display.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. It's been a game changer for me, and obviously for you as well.
Yes, it has.
Okay, this is my favorite question. What is one case or client transformation that deeply impacted you, and what did it teach you about the healing process?
You know, had a gentleman come to me some years ago who was an avid Oregon Ducks fan. And he came to me with stage 4 cancer, and he knew it. And his prognosis was very grim. And I looked at him and I just said, well, what exactly is it that you hope to gain from this experience? Because I don't think I can fix this. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because it was amazing to have this experience with this man. He was told he had 6 months to live. He lived for another 18.
Wow.
He got to watch, and he came here with an Oregon Ducks jersey on every day, every visit. He was an Oregon, I mean, he was true blue Oregon Ducks, okay? And we worked with him, and we supported his detox pathways, immune system, nutrition, stamina, energy, took stress off the heart. A lot of cancer patients succumb to a heart condition if they get, if they get the cancer under control. And by the way, cancer doesn't leave the body. It doesn't go anywhere. It didn't come back mysteriously from what your medical doctor's communication lacks, which is the truth. It might have been in remission. You might have got on top of it, right? But it didn't go anywhere. It's still there. And if you don't stop what you're doing and repeat those bad habits, you're going to recreate more activity of cancer. So I digress. So I put him on a program. He showed promise. He stopped losing weight. He was pretty much a shell, but he stopped losing. But here's the thing: he had an impeccable attitude, had impeccable humor, optimism, excitement. He got to watch the Ducks do what they set out to do that year, and he was fulfilled. And 4 months after that is when he passed away. Wow. So that's and what it taught me about the healing process is anybody, I don't care who you are, you have got to have a purpose greater than getting well or feeling better. Okay. For example, that man's motivation was cancer was trying to take something away from him that he did not want to give up. Okay. He did not want to give up the experience of watching his team win a national championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point, actually.
Now, when people come to us as practitioners, it's not the thing that we're concerned with. It's what is this thing trying to take away from you? Let's focus on that. That's what draws you through. That's what pulls you through the tough times when I'm going through a healing crisis. I don't feel that great. My tummy's upset. I got diarrhea. I got a headache. I'm sweating at night. I can't sleep at night. I want to sleep all day, right? Little reprogramming experiences. What pulls a person through that experience is what is this illness threatening to take from you? Get focused on keeping that, and you'll walk through the trenches. You'll walk through the discomfort. You'll walk through the diarrhea and the insomnia and the headaches and the no energy. You'll walk through that to keep what this is trying to take from you.
Yeah.
And that's what that taught me. That man, and people will say, oh, it was just a football game. Not to him. And who am I to say what his objectives are that gave him the stamina, the energy, the commitment, the dedication to saving his own life longer than what he was told by the disease management model that he would have so that he could fulfill his objective.
Wow.
Who am I to judge his objective for doing that?
Right.
But we have to find it. As practitioners, that's part of our responsibility. You have insomnia. Well, what is this taking from you? Let's not focus on the problem, because if you focus on the problem, you get more of the same. What is this taking from you? You know what? I want to have more energy. I have grandkids. I want to spend time with my grandkids. I want to be able to take them to the park and not just watch them on the swing. I want to go swing with them, not just watch them on the merry-go-round. I want to be out there strength and pushing that thing, right? What is being ill taking from you, from your life? Focus on that with the right program and procedures and monitoring and all the other things that we provide with the machine. And that's how you help people really achieve success. Forget about insomnia. Think about having more time, quality time with your grandkids. That'll pull you through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's awesome. That's also a beautiful story. I kind of have a similar one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you have people coming to you with cancer, it's always It's definitely, I mean, for me, so last summer, I remember it was last June, somebody asked me, "Hey, do you work with cancer patients?" And I said, "I work with anyone with chronic illness, but I haven't had a cancer patient yet. I'd love to work with one." And do you know, I went home that night and I said, "God, I'd love to work with a cancer patient. Send one my way, okay?" So I get a phone call from one of my current clients, and she says, "Hey, you know this lady?" And I said, "Sounds familiar. Don't recognize the name." She said, "No, no, you know this person." And I was like, I had to really dig deep. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I haven't seen her since I was 12 years old." She told me that she had stage 3 colon cancer, and she had referred her to me, and she remembered me, and she used to be good friends with my mom. And so we got back in touch. And for those listening, and I haven't actually told you this story either. Um,
Wow.
this woman used to take care of my dad when he was dying from cancer when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
And so it was kind of like returning the favor. And
Wow.
so we reached out to her. She came in the store. I'm getting teary-eyed. And
Wow.
she came in the store and she could barely walk from her car to the front door. She had to immediately sit down. She was white as a ghost. She did not look like anything I remembered her. And she was still beautiful. She was always a beautiful person, but she just looked worn out. She went through 6 months of chemo and radiation, and she's like, "I don't know how you can help me, but I'm willing to try anything." And so I said, "You know what? We have good options in the store here, but I think you'd benefit from a nutrition program." She said, "Okay." So we booked the appointment the following week, and I gave her her program of care. And within a month, she came in. She looked totally different. Her skin was vibrant. She looks like she had energy. And she sits down. I'm like, "You look really different. You look amazing." She's like, "Everybody's telling me that." And she said that she was able to walk around the grocery store. She had never been able to do that since she was diagnosed. And so I we scheduled a follow-up for a month out. And the following month, it was right before she was going back in for a scan to see if where the cancer was, if it was still there. And she looked even better. And at that point, she was now walking 45 minutes a day, 6 days a week. She was walking around the grocery store. I
Wow.
only had to see her 3 times, and she was putting in all the work. I mean, she was
Yep.
exhausted. So when people give me the excuses, I like think about her. I'm like, no, if she can
Yep.
do it, anybody can do it.
Yep.
She changed her nutrition. She was really diligent about the supplements and any way that it made it work for her. She had her daughter write up like a spreadsheet so she knew exactly when to take things. And I mean, she's like my living testimony. She's amazing. I have a lot of clients that have great testimonies, but when you have people with cancer that come to you sort of like on their last wit's end, and then they have that huge transformation, it's huge. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Congratulations to both of you. What a great story. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I know. It was
Thank
kind
you
of
for
like paying
sharing
it.
that.
Yeah, of course. It was kind of like paying it forward because she
Yep.
took care of my dad. She was, bedside with him. And yeah, it was cool.
Amazing. Wow. And just think, together we got 40 more years of similar stories.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
awesome.
At least. At least 40 more years for me, I think. How old am
Well,
I?
at least for me, I expect 60 out of you.
40 more years. You'll be like
For me,
175, right?
what's that?
I'm just kidding.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said you'll be 175, right?
You know, I'm going to be out there in September.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's
That's right.
right.
We need to talk about that
Yes,
actually.
we do.
Okay, I'll ask you one more question, but let's take a break and let's talk about September.
September 12th and 13th, correct?
Yes.
Which is a Friday night at your office at Aspire Health and Nutrition. So excited about it. We, Nicole and I will be giving a open house. I call it a palm pressing and back slapping event, right? Where we get to put practitioners and get to meet people and meet the community and have an open house and give a tour and talk about all the wonderful things we're doing this weekend.
Mhm.
And hopefully have all of the community of your little town there come through and see what you're about and what you do and why. And Saturday morning, we're going to give a little orientation class, Nicole and I together. I'm going to let her do 90% of the work. She doesn't know that, but we are.
Okay.
And this is an opportunity for people to come through and see what we do and how we do it and work with us and work with Nicole's office primarily And then that evening, going to do a little demonstration of nutritional kinesiology. I might get to test a person from the audience that attends, and I'm certain that Nicole is going to get a test at least maybe 1, 2, or 3. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. We don't want to be midnight, but it is fascinating. It's a lot of fun to explain the process as we're doing it. And with the demos, we get to tell people things about themselves they didn't tell us by asking questions like, do you have this or this? Like, yeah, your body says so.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. September 12th and 13th at the Aspire Health and Nutrition office there in Massachusetts.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. We'll be posting more information on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll send out an email and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's like our first announcement of it.
That's awesome.
Okay, last question.
Yes.
What do you wish clients understood better about their role and their own healing? I know we sort of talked about it a little bit, and I just kind of mentioned it about my client transformation story, but I think it's really good to kind of really hammer that one in.
And that's a great question to finish up the interview on. You know, we mentioned it earlier. We spend more time at education than evaluation. We really do. Okay. The problem with today is that people have Dr. Google, so they think they know something.
Yep.
Every little supplement on the planet can be found at Walgreens and GNC and natural grocers and all these places. Half of that stuff isn't worth eating. Okay. Because in the supplement industry, there are some challenges, manufacturing being one of them. They allow ascorbic acid to be presented to the consumer as vitamin C, and it's really a piece of vitamin C. It's not the whole complex nutritive portion of vitamin C. So the consumer comes in about half-baked, educated, convinced that they know something, and they really don't, unfortunately. And then you have to overcome that as a practitioner and reposition them with better information, with more truthful, actionable information. And then the other thing that I really find is that their health, the health they have is the health they built, period. It's not genetics, okay? Period. Quit blaming mommy and daddy. Quit going on Oprah and saying the woes of my world are your fault, because that's just ridiculous, okay? And the health you have is the health you built, period. Genetics loads the gun, diet, lifestyle, stress, lack of movement, and rest patterns, that's what pulled the trigger, okay? Those are the things that are within your control. Step up, take accountability, be responsible, give yourself patience and time, but do not try to put in any way your health off on somebody else. It's 100% your responsibility. And my job is to meet you where you're at when you come to my office, get you what you want, while I educate you as to what you need. What you need for future prevention and maintaining correction is the changing of your lousy life habits.
Yep.
I can help you do that over time. Some people do it quickly, sometimes slowly, right? But I can promise you, your listeners, your viewers, that it will materialize when you work for it.
Yes.
Right? If you don't put forth the effort, it ain't going to happen. There's no saying. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to change your viewpoint, your attitude. You have control over the decisions you make, the attitude you have, the actions you take. You have a choice over that. You are empowered. Quit pointing the finger, because when you point the finger out here at something, you got 3 pointing back at you. You're the real problem. Man up, woman up, face it. We'll get you through it lovingly, encouragingly, but we're not going to tell you half truths and a half-baked version of what it really takes to get well. You're going to have to take ownership of that.
Yeah, I love it. The bare bones of it all. It's so true. I can give people these beautiful programs, but if they don't implement, if they don't take action, they can't blame me or you for, what they don't get.
And to your point, we come out of, as we started this conversation an hour ago, okay? We come out of these schools thinking it's our responsibility to get someone well. It's misguided education. It's not true. I don't care if you're Trinity, New Eden, any of these schools out there, the 4-year colleges for naturopaths, Pasteur, and all these guys. Mm-hmm. It is not the practitioner's job to get the patient well. It is the practitioner's job to position the patient to get well. And that's a whole different nuance taking it in a whole different direction, driving a much better results outcome for both the practice and the patient, or in our case, the client. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Period. No, I
yeah.
love that. It's so true. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. This has been really fun.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Do you want to plug your, I don't know if you're really on social media. I feel like you're a busy guy, but if you want to plug anything, we'll have it in the show notes, but you can also announce it here.
Yeah, as you and I were talking before, I finally gained access back to my Spotify. Total Wellness Radio is my podcast. There's over 420 episodes on there. I've done that podcast for 7 years. It's kind of my baby. It's my part-time vocation. It is not monetized. It is not a bunch of this or that. And we're going to post this episode on Spotify and start getting some active interviews going again on there. The format is very simple. I interview either current clients to capture their experience with our office, or other practitioners just like you from around the world, actually, to give their take on nutritional therapy and how they can naturally improve people's health with getting over chronic illness. So that's kind of the two different interview styles that are on there. And we're going to crank that back up. So yeah, if we can put a link to Total Wellness Radio on Spotify, that'd be wonderful.
All right. Yeah, we will do that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of the Healing Revolution.
Thank you.